So you're effectively under house arrest. Could you just describe for our viewers what life is like for you?
Well, life these days is the only time I go out of my house is when I have to go to make a court appearance. And I have had, in the last 19 days, 70 appearances in court. I mean, in different courts. So sometimes about 10 in a day. So basically, that's my life right now, because all my senior leadership either is in jail or they're in hiding. And same with my workers. So I'm, in a sense, I'm out, God knows for how long. But right now, it is going from one pail to another. That's basically my life.
And the forces allied against you, is it effectively the army?
Well, we have an undeclared martial law right now in Pakistan. The army, the military establishment is running the show.
And to what extent do you regret, when you were leader, not weakening their power?
Look, the army has ruled Pakistan directly or indirectly for 75 years. So, for me to have come in and thinking that I can, get rid of the army from governance scene is really not possible. So, but, I had to work with them. And that's the only way to do it, because it's the only entrenched, organized institution in the country. So when the whole governance structure is, the other institutions are weak. By the way, I succeeded for 3 years. I mean, I managed to work with the army and actually managed to get most of my economic agenda done. I mean, we did quite well, considering the COVID-19 2 years. The whole world suffered from that, and we navigated through that. And then our economy was growing in the last 2 years of my government, the best in 17 years. So actually, I managed, quite well at the time.
I mean, I think the perception from their side, though, was that you were turning against them. I mean, do you regret that? Because they obviously, because I mean, they forced you out, and it does look from where we sit. Well, tell me, is there a way back for you?
Well, firstly, look, the army means army chief. So every army chief comes in, he brings in his own policies, his own ideology, or what, his own point of view. So, army is not a democratic institution, which has a policy made by consensus. So I worked quite well with the army chief, except at the end. And really, it wasn't me, it was the army chief who somehow decided that, he needed to replace me with someone else. But the reason behind it wasn't me doing something wrong, was because he wanted an extension. Right. And he had already made a deal with the guy who's the current prime minister that he was going to give him an extension. So that really was the conspiracy why I was removed, not because of our performance. And it was the first government, removed, not because of corruption. So it was really because his personal interest to get an extension.
I mean, normally in these sorts of circumstances, you'd expect Western leaders to be standing up and saying it's a travesty that, an elected politician has been effectively thrown in jail. I mean, my working assumption is the reason they're not doing that is because you did that deal with Putin shortly before the invasion of Ukraine. Do you regret getting close to Putin?
Look, the trip to Russia was organized by our Foreign Office, and all the stakeholders were, the military wanted hardware from Russia. The country wanted cheap oil from Russia, because as the commodity super cycle following COVID-19, our people were going below the poverty line because of the inflation. So we wanted cheaper oil, and then we wanted to import 2 million tons of wheat. So the trip was organized months before. And so how was I supposed to know when I went to Russia, the next morning, Russia would invade Ukraine? It was bad timing, but I wasn't supposed to know that. But it wasn't, my policy, foreign policy was straightforward. It should be non-aligned. We shouldn't be part of blocs like Pakistan was part of the Western bloc in the Cold War era. And that meant the whole of Central Asia and other countries were out of bound, whereas India was non-aligned.
Yeah,
And
just
even
just
today,
to be
India is
just to be
trading
clear,
with Russia and-
but just to be clear, you are committed to a non-aligned policy then.
Yes, I mean, my point is, we participated in two conflicts. One was the Afghan Jihad, when we were part of the Western Bloc against the Soviet Union, and it was launched from Pakistan. It left us with severe consequences. Secondly, participated in the war on terror 10 years later, and 80,000 Pakistanis died, plus $100 billion lost to the economy. So my point is that our top priority of our government should be 100 million Pakistanis vulnerable just above or below the poverty line. And you can't care about your people if you become part of a conflict. So, that's what was my philosophy.
No, I get that. So, I mean, broadly, you're not surprised that the West isn't supporting you personally?
I don't really need support from other countries. But all I expect from other countries, especially the Western countries, who talk about the Western values, about democracy, about rule of law, about against human rights violations, custodial torture, and so on. All I want is that they should be consistent about these things. They should not come out just because when they want to, beat up China on Hong Kong or Uyghurs or Russia. It should be consistent. Yeah. Now, Pakistan's democracy is being wound up. It's being dismantled. And it should not be about me. It should be the fact that a country of 250 million people, if the democracy is wound out, rule of law is gone, 10,000 of my people in jails, facing custodial torture, all democratic institutions falling apart under this, basically a martial law, undeclared martial law. I think they should speak out against that, because it's not me, it's 250 million people in this country.
No.